Hi guys, it's Yogi here with race 2 of the October Go4 Cup PC Finals for Project Cars, and if you haven't seen race 1 yet, go and check the description down below as the link to that is down in there. Make sure to go watch that first and then come back here for race 2. So this is the current championship standings in this ESL Go4 Cup Final on PC. As you can see, Kaki is in the lead with 10 points. Second place goes to Marcus Walter with 8 points. In third is USSR Alex with 6 points. With 5 points in fourth place is F1 Massa. Tony R is in fifth place with 4 points. And then in sixth position is Papan. So, like in race 1, the guys had a 10-minute qualifying session prior to the race. This time we're going to be racing at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit over in Belgium. And these are the results from that qualifying session. So in pole position once again is Kaki with a time of a 2:14.147. Second place Marcus Walter, only 2 tenths behind him. Third place went to USSR Alex with a 2:14.8. Fourth position went to F1 Massive with a 2:15.010. In fifth place with Tony R in the Aston Martin with a 2:15.1, and then in sixth position was Papan with a 2:16.1. So here we go then with race 2. Let's see how the drivers do, and let's see who will become champion of this October ESL Go4 Cup final here on PC. So just bear with us one moment whilst we hop into the spectator cam. Once the lights go green, which they do so now, the drivers pulling away, trying to get back to them as soon as possible as they make the run down towards turn 1, Eau Rouge. And the drivers looking very, very close. Marcus there trying to have a little bit of a look at Kaki through the middle of Eau Rouge. He's gone and lost a little bit of momentum, it looks like, and Alex R has got onto the outside of Marcus there. Just going to top back underneath the rear wing and try and pick up a little bit more slipstream as we come down towards this first chicane. F1 Massa having a look down the inside of Alex coming into the right-hander of the chicane. Alex giving him plenty of room and is still able to maintain the position. It looks like Papand has slid right up onto the back of F1 Massa, and it looks like we are missing Tony R. He's somewhere in the background. Haven't been able to see quite what happened to him as the drivers come through the long right-hander just there, the hairpin, and then into this 90 left, and then down towards the hill, down towards Pouon. It looks like Alex got to spun off onto the inside. No, that was just lag. For a moment there, it looked like he lost control of the car and spun on, hit the inside wall, but it was just a little bit of a lag spike there. And he is still in third position. Although it looks like he's picked up a little bit of damage. There we can see Tony R going through the exit of Pouon now. So he's gone and lost quite a lot of ground. It looks like he's got some damage there as well. So I wonder what happened to Tony. Again, the second time this has happened. It happened in the first race. Something happened to him off camera that we didn't quite pick up, and it looked like he's picked up some damage. Like I was saying, Alex here looks like he's got a little bit of damage on his car, but we know for a fact that that didn't actually happen. That was just from a lag incident. So there we can see the current standings as they are as we come through towards the bus stop chicane. The drivers just going through Blanchemont now. Now we're coming to the braking zone of the bus stop chicane to end lap 1. So obviously Kaki has maintained his lead so far. Marcus Walter in second. It looked like Alex got a little bit deep there, and so did Papand in the entrance there, just missing the braking point and trying to pick up. There he is, Alex R with F1 Massa sat right underneath him, lurking, waiting for a prime opportunity to try and make the overtaking move. He's come through the final turn and then down the hill towards the end of lap 1. There you can see Tony R in the foreground trying to make up the ground that he lost at the start of lap 1. You can see Kaki there was in the background of the picture, just pulling away and trying to extend his lead out from Marcus. And Alex there obviously making a mistake in the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. Went in just a little bit too hot and missed the apex, which had totally ruined his line for the second part. Come into the chicane now. Looked like Alex again went a little bit deep there. F1 Massa not able to capitalise on that as Alex quickly recovered the car and got it back online. You see him now just coming into this tight right-hander. And again into the 90-degree left-hander. Guys at the moment avoiding the bollards on the insides of the curbs. It can potentially give them damage if they do hit those. and also those bollards are sat on top of little raised bumps on the insides of the curb, so if they knock one of the cones off and then later on, say on the next lap, hit one of those bumps, it can potentially unsettle the car and send you out a little bit wider than you initially would like. You can see here F1 Massa getting right up underneath the rear wing of Alex. Alex obviously holding his line and not letting F1 Massa get any kind of opportunity to try and slip past, but F1 Massa should have the slipstream coming down this fast section towards Blanchimont. Although you are going through a sequence of corners there, very, very shallow, and it is all completely flat out. There may be a slight lift from these drivers coming into Blanchimont here. F1 Massa running very wide over the curb on the exit there. Will Alex be able to defend his third position? Coming into the bus stop chicane, looks like Massa's gone down the inside. He's going to risen up over the top of the curb, and that looked a little bit awkward there for him, and it looks like he's gone and picked up himself a 5-second penalty as well, so he's got to lost an awful lot of ground to Alex with that move. Papand is not too far behind, just a couple of car lengths from Massa at the moment, so Alex managing to hold on to third position. As again we see another mistake from F1 Massa. He made a couple in the first race. You can see obviously, although he's a very, very quick driver and is able to get up onto the backs of cars pretty quickly, he just seems to be struggling to get past at the moment, and also struggling to maintain the consistency for extended periods of time. So there you can see, or just saw, the standings at the moment. Hopefully you guys had a look at those, as we see F1 Massa in the background there taking out one of the bollards that I was talking about on the inside of that chicane, just in the background of the shot. And there we can see Marcus Walter, otherwise known as Blackie, catching up onto the back of Kaki. Kaki doesn't seem to be running away with the race too much at the moment. Marcus is holding and taking the fight to him fairly strong. Obviously there is a little bit of a gap, roughly probably around a second. However, it's not massive at the moment, and all it takes is one small mistake from Kaki, and this will bring Marcus right up onto the back of his M3. So again, the guys just taking nice, smooth, flowing lines, just making sure that they're nailing their braking points, nailing the apexes on the inside, getting good, smooth runs, coming out the exit of the corners, just trying to maximise the speed coming down these straights. And that Z4 looking very, very nice and aggressive, with a massive rear wing as well. Absolutely fantastic car to have featured in this game. And it's such a shame that they are no longer going to be running in the Blancpain GT3 series in the real world. Instead, it's being replaced by the new BMW M6. And there we can see Tony R's managed to get past Papand at some point, once again off camera. So Tony is recovering at the moment from an earlier incident on the very first lap. As you can see, he's already got himself up into 5th position. As it looked like Papand was running the curb quite heavily there on the exit of the bus stop chicane, coming into the final hairpin now. And then he'll be on the run down the hill towards the start finish line and down towards Eau Rouge. So it's an absolutely fantastic place to watch the cars blast through. Should be pretty much flat out for these guys. Sometimes there is a slight lift in these GT3 cars, but if you can hook up the right line, you can take it with pretty much no lift from the throttle whatsoever. Let's just see Tony nailing the braking point quite nicely, hooking up the inside curb on both the right and then the left, and then again the right that follows, using the curb on the exit there and keeping at least 2 wheels within the confines of those white lines, i.e. the track limits, which is good. That's what we like to see from our drivers. So picking up F1 Massa now as they run down towards Pouhon. Alex currently going through Pouhon now and taking quite a nice smooth line. There you can see the difference between first, second and third. And if you're quick enough, you may have just been able to see the glimpse of F1 Massa in the background in 4th position. The camera shot a couple of shots ago. And again, currently following Marcus as you come through and into the third and final sector of lap 4. Like I was saying, Kaki not really extending his lead out too much at the moment. Both of these guys are pretty equal on pace. You see Marcus just about managing to keep 2 wheels within the white lines and into the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. Picking up the curb on the inside quite nicely, taking a nice smooth line, coming through the second part, and accelerating up through the gears as we come over the start-finish straight for what is the F1 layout, and then this GT style layout, which is the main layout that features in Project Cars, has its start-finish down here on the run down to Eau Rouge, which is what the GT cars tend to run, or shall I say the GT series tend to run in the real world. We come down onto this quite long back straight where the cars will be pretty much maxing out as we come into the braking zone at the end of Sector 1 and begin Sector 2. So Sector 1s and 3 tend to be really quite fast, open and flowing, and then the second sector is a fair bit tighter and more twisty. It's got a lot more corners in it, which obviously requires a good balance of the car and good aerodynamics, which these two BMW cars do have. The Z4 is very well known for its wet weather and aero performance, the aero being very efficient on that car. And then the M3, which is actually a GT2 GTE style car, also has very good aero. It's a slightly different engine package to the GT3 cars. However, it's been balanced quite nicely in and amongst the GT3 field in this game, hence the reason they are allowed to be run in this GT3 final. There we go, through Blanchimont now. Looked like there was a slight wobble there from Marcus, but I think that was more lag than anything. So he managed to carry on and maintain the speed through, so it's just my connection not being 100%. Losing packets every now and then, but still the guys are racing and racing cleanly. So now come down the hill, and there you can see Alex in third position. He's got a little bit of a gap to Marcus in front of him, and then quite a fairly big gap to Massa behind. Massa kind of running in a lot of free air at the moment, as we can see there. Tony R and also Papand in 5th and 6th position. I think Tony may have made a mistake somewhere along the line, as Papand is following him reasonably closely, a couple of car lengths behind. Just trying to use as much of the curb as possible on the exit there. Is essential to try and keep an as shallow steering angle as possible through Rouge and Radion to try and maximise the speed coming down this long straight. There we can see the guys coming through the chicane rather nicely. Like Papan there caught one of the bumps on the inside of that curb, just bounced the front slightly, but didn't unsettle the car too much. It didn't push him out too wide, and he's able to maintain his ground and keep within a couple of car lengths to Tony R in his Aston Martin just in front of him there. Now coming into the entrance of Pouon, once again the lag just making it look like Papan had a slight wobble upon the entry, but I'm sure that was all perfectly fine, nice and smooth for him from his perspective. You see Tony R using a tiny little bit of brake there. It looked like Papan ran a little bit wide and dipped the wheels into the gravel, but has managed to get away with it. Hasn't lost too much momentum from that. See, obviously pushing quite hard, trying to keep up with Tony. Also possibly losing a tiny little bit of aero. Obviously these guys are fairly close, but not too close, so doubt it's really affecting him too much. These GT3 cars have a lot of mechanical grip, so they can tend to follow each other quite close. They don't rely too heavily on their aero packages, which is why they're one of the more popular car classes in the game, and also in the real world. The popularity of GT3s is growing, which is great to see, as they do provide some very entertaining races. And obviously you can relate to the cars as well. You know what the cars are. They're basically just real world versions of the road cars that have been stripped out, a few aero winglets and bits and bobs put on and around the car to try and maximise the performance through the corners. So we've jumped to Alex now in third position, still chasing Marcus. He hasn't lost too much ground. It looks like Karki has extended his lead a little bit more to Marcus. There you can see the fastest lap times that the drivers have done, and it looked like Karki managed to pull out about 4 tenths to Marcus on the previous lap. Looking at the last lap times, as Marcus comes through, Poo on now. See Karki coming out through the exit. There goes Marcus, and then Alex in the back of the picture, and then quite a gap to F1 Massa, who I believe is still in 4th position. So come now in towards the end of Sector 2 and starting Sector 3 now. It looks like there's a tiny little bit more lag there with Marcus Walter. He comes now on the run down towards Blanchimont, throwing the car in, and then running quite wide on the exit there, and using a little bit of the AstroTurf as well. He's got his braking point pretty much bang on. Slight wobble there mid corner there, as you see puff of smoke come up from the back of his car. He may have potentially locked the rear axle ever so slightly through the apex of the corner. You can see the marbles on and around the circuit. So now come down again, start finish line to start another lap. Looks like my connection isn't being 100% at the moment, getting the odd little bit of lag spikes here and there, as you can see. So I apologise for that. However, it shouldn't really be affecting the drivers too much. And there we can see Tony up, and then Papan behind him, who's gone and lost a little bit of ground somewhere along the line. Papan doing a 2:16.5 as his fastest lap. Taking a nice smooth line through the chicane, not really attacking the curbs too much, just trying to keep the car fairly settled. And there we can see Alex in 3rd position, who is currently hunting down Marcus. Nice bit of flame there coming out the side exhaust of his M3. Once again, he's running with the lights on as well, which does make that car look rather mean and aggressive. You can see he's closing up onto the back of Marcus. I'm not sure whether Alex is just faster in this stage of the race, or whether Marcus has gone and made a mistake somewhere along the line. So come now in towards the bus stop chicane. Alex using all of the width of the circuit that was available to him. Getting a nice smooth run out the exit there, as we come now down towards the final corner. Bring the car over to the left hand side of the circuit, and then braking, getting the car hooked into the apex quite nicely. There's a nice little dip on the inside there as well, and there's a little bit of camber which helps to just hook you up into the apex a little bit tighter. And coming through Rouge, where the car presses at the bottom of the dip there, and you come up over the hill and it goes light as you come up over through the top of Radion. Like I was saying earlier, I'll try and keep that shallow steering angle to try and maximise the speed coming out through the exit. So you don't want to be turning too hard whilst coming out over the crest, because if you are running a lower wing, potentially lose some of the downforce and the car does become light, and there is the potential for it to become unstable. And you can see the gap has closed up quite visibly between Alex and also Marcus, currently running in second and third position. Coming into Puon and out through the exit. I'm starting to sense that Alex fancies his chances at a second place here in this race, and if he can keep his current pace up at the moment, within a lap or two, he should be right up onto the back of Marcus. Obviously, Marcus has dropped back a little bit from Kaki, so there's no chance of picking up the slipstream for him. However, Alex is close enough to potentially pick up a little bit towards the end of the straight. Obviously, the faster you go, the bigger the hole that you punch into the air will be. There you can see the standings. It looks like we've only got 5 drivers, so F1 Massa has dropped out somewhere along the lines in this race. So yeah, we've only got 5 drivers at the moment. He's not showing on the classifications there. So you can see Tony R and Papan have moved up into 4th and 5th positions, as I believe F1 Massa was running in 4th position previously. However, we're coming on to start lap 10, so only 5-6 laps to go. There'll be 6 whole laps that we have. So guys come through Rouge, you can see I'm really pushing, carries so much speed coming through those corners. And then we just quickly jump to Tony R to check up on him. He is still in front of Papand. Looks like Papand's a couple of seconds behind Tony. It looks like Alex is close right up onto the rear wing of Marcus here. Very, very close indeed. He's going to follow him through. Will he potentially make a challenge down the inside coming into this right-handed hairpin? He has a little bit of a look, but then thinks better of it and just tucks in behind for now. Try and follow him through. If he can get a good run coming out through this 90-degree left, he should be able to get a fairly good run coming down towards Puon. However, it doesn't look like he's quite close enough, and Marcus ran a good line as well, which has prevented Alex from having a little bit of a look at second position. However, Alex hasn't really lost too much ground. It looks like he may have dropped back a car length or so, which could be due to the lack of downforce following in the dirty air of Marcus just in front of him. However, coming out through the exit of here, he should pick up the slipstream and should allow him to close up onto the back of Marcus. And the bus stop chicane with its heavy braking zone should prevent a very nice overtaking opportunity if you can nail the braking point. Brake that tiny little bit later than Marcus. So coming through Blanchimont now. It's running very, very wide out on towards the AstroTurf there. He's not going to be close enough to have a look down the inside of Marcus coming into the entrance there. If you can get a good smooth exit out of here, you may be able to potentially have a run, having a look down the inside into this hairpin. If not, it's all about getting a good exit and a good run down the hill towards Eau Rouge and out through Eau Rouge and out the top of Radion, and then into the chicane on the next lap after the straight. So starting now our 11th lap, coming through Eau Rouge. Needs to get a good run through here and pick up that slipstream. As we see Marcus's car moving around a little bit, I think that's because of the lag. It looks like Marcus may be looking to go a little bit defensive, knowing that Alex is going to pick up the slipstream. It doesn't look like Alex was quite close enough, but Marcus going defensive anyway and holding the inside line, forcing Alex to go around the outside. A little like there was a little bit of lag there between the two drivers. It may have potentially been a tiny little bit of contact. Alex is now right up onto the rear wing of Marcus. Again, more lag there, and it looked like they both made contact. It's rather unfortunate. Hopefully that didn't actually affect the two drivers too much. So we come through the left-hander now. And again, the connection not really playing ball at the moment. And it looked like there was more laggy contact between the two, but it looked like that one was actually a little bit more serious, as Alex has gone and lost a lot of ground to Marcus now, who looked to potentially be going straight on, but again, my connection not being great is not giving a true perspective of how the drivers are actually taking the corners at the moment, and I apologise for that, as we now follow Kaki, who has got himself a very nice lead in this second race at the moment, and if he could just keep it together and hold it smoothly, he'll come away with the win for race 2 as well, and obviously be crowned champion of this October ESL Go4 Cup final on PC with Project Cars. There you can see the gap between Kaki and also Marcus. Just caught a glimpse of Marcus there in the background of the shot, as Kaki comes into the final corner now to start another lap. Again, this race is 15 laps long, and it's quite a long circuit as well, Spa. Lap times, as you can see from Kaki, is a 2:14.2, which is insanely quick. Very, very fast lap times being put down by these drivers at the moment. You can see just the standard of driving is very, very good. They all seem to be nailing the braking points. The apex is running really good, smooth lines. Like I was saying in the first race, not hustling the car too much. The guys aren't slipping and sliding all over the place. It just does seem to be very, very smooth. It all looks very, very calm. However, I'm sure a few of them are probably working away at the wheel quite hard within the actual cockpit. And there's no better way to see that than viewing the driver's perspectives. Links to those videos are down in the descriptions below. I don't think everybody recorded or will be recording their race to make sure that they try and get the best performance out of their PC as possible, to try and give themselves the best chance in this final as possible. However, I do know one or two drivers should be recording, and I'll probably be uploading their videos as well, so definitely go check out their videos, definitely go check out their channels as well. I know Tony R has only fairly recently started up his channel. He's got some great car setup guides on there, some very good videos, so go and have a look at his stuff. Not too sure about any of the other drivers. I believe one or two of them have YouTube channels which they just upload videos to regularly, so take a look at them, watch their races. Hopefully you guys will be able to learn something, and hopefully you'll be able to get yourselves a regular Project Cars uploader, at least another one. As we now come into lap 13, and there you can see best lap by Kaki is 2:14.2. He did a 2:14.6 on the previous lap, extending the gap out to Marcus by another 2 tenths. And then USSR Alex has had a fairly slow lap with a 2:17. Tony R is going to go and do a 2:16.2, and then Papand going to cross the line now, did a 2:15.9. So he's closed the gap onto Tony a little bit on that previous lap, but obviously he's still quite a way back at the moment. And he's only got a couple of laps left to close back up. You can see there visually, just about see Papand in the back of the shot, as we're currently following Tony at the moment. As we come through, again, Tony not taking too much curb on the exit there, keeping the car within the confines of the circuit, running a little bit deep into this right-handed hairpin. However, although you lose a little bit of time, it's not too major. If you run a slightly wider line, you can kind of carry a little bit more speed through. However, there is obviously the potential to run out wider on the exit and also scrub the tyres a little bit harder than you would if you were to run the slightly tighter line, as you don't carry as much speed through the apex of the corner. Following Papan now in his rough, using the curb on the inside and avoiding the bollards. Again, dipping the wheels on the gravel there on the exit, but getting away with it. It can be quite costly at times. If you dip your wheels too far into the gravel, it will slow the car down on that one side quite heavily and pull you into the gravel trap itself, which obviously will cost you an awful lot of time. However, it looked like Papan was just skimming across the surface of the gravel, not really getting sucked in. This now comes into the braking zone of this bus stop chicane. Getting the car slowed down quite nicely, avoiding the large red sausage curves on the inside of the curbs there. Taking a fairly good line. It could have been a little bit tighter to the inside curb coming through the second part. However, still managing to get onto the power fairly early. It looks like Alex has probably got the length of the start-finish straight to Tony. And there you can see Marcus. You can see the difference between those two. So I think Alex may have picked up a little bit of damage from the lag spikes that we had earlier, a lap or two ago. And that's obviously going to cost him a fair amount of ground. You can see a little bit of damage there to Marcus's car as we jump on board with Kaki now. Coming down into Pouon, and there are the standings. And Kaki doing another very, very fast lap. Only a couple of hundredths slower than his best lap. And Marcus a little bit of the way back behind him. Again, Kaki just taking some very nice smooth flowing lines, so I'm going to hop on board with him here. See the lines that he is taking. See the detail in the road surface and also on the edges of the circuit with the white lines and also the curbs. And we go over one of those. See it there. Slightly Mad Studio is doing an absolutely fantastic job of recreating these tracks. Majority of them are done from photo references and videos and then recrafted by hand. A lot of developers tend to use laser scanned tracks, which Project Cars does feature a couple. However, most of them are done handcrafted, but even still, they've done a very, very good job in recreating the feel of the circuits, and obviously all the other sim elements on top of that as well. Really putting Project Cars quite firmly on the sim racer map. I just hope that the developers can continue with the patches, giving us the bug fixes and also new content with the Project Cars on Demand scheme that they have going with the DLC, and obviously as well in each patch they're just bringing a little bit more content, some new functionalities. We can see quite a lot of heavy damage to the front there of Marcus's BMW Z4. Don't know whether he has actually picked up that damage and it's like what we're actually seeing as a true representation of what he has, or whether there's been some further lag and he's picked up a little bit more. You can see there Tony R as well. Looks like the front of his Aston Martin is pretty banged up. However, I'm not too sure if that damage is actual true representation of the damage that he is actually driving with at the moment. We can see there Papan coming through Pouon, and we are on the final lap as well. So Tony R spitting some nice flame coming out the side exhaust of the V12 Vantage. See that Alex coming onto the back section. Marcus Walter just coming through Blanchemont now, and there's Kaki going through the bus stop chicane, and he'll now approach the final corner on this final lap of race 2. There you can see the standings, just confirming those as it comes into the braking zone in towards the apex, hooking up the curb quite nicely on the exit there. And he is going to come down the start finish straight now across the line to win race 2 here at Spa-Francorchamps, and that can only mean one thing. Obviously, having won both the first and second race, he comes away with maximum points, and that means that he is going to be the champion of this October ESL Go4 Cup Final. So some nice lovely celebratory donuts there, and here are the final standings from the second race. So obviously in first position was Kaki, 7 seconds behind him was Marcus Walter in second. Third position went to USSR Alex, fourth position went to Tony, fifth to Papand, and then Massa, who didn't finish the race and dropped out halfway through, will come home in sixth position. And obviously the 2 no-shows at the bottom there. So these are the championship standings, and obviously Kaki, with both race wins, comes away with the full 20 points. And second place was Marcus Walter with 2 second places, getting a total of 16 points. Alex, who got 2 third positions, comes away with 12 points. Tony R will be in 4th place with 9 points. 5th place goes to F1 Massa with 8 points. Obviously he disconnected in the second race. And then Papand in 6th position comes home with 7 points. So congratulations to Kaki and also Marcus Walter for getting first and second and walking away with the prize money. Obviously a big shout out to the rest of the guys as well, coming to the final and participating. Obviously some great battles throughout both races, and it was really good high caliber of driving from all of you, so thank you very much for providing that to us. And of course you guys tuning into the coverage here on YouTube, thank you very much for coming in and taking a look. Hopefully we should be able to provide more ESL content to you guys in the future, and who knows, we may see some of you racing in the Go4 Championships in the final, battling it out for the prize money, both on a weekly basis and also on a monthly basis with the final as well. So if you are interested in participating with ESL, feel free to check out the link down in the description below. You can see there all the weekly championship brackets. You can sign yourself up and get yourself involved on all 3 of the platforms that Project Cars features on. I just want to give one final shout out to a number of the drivers. Obviously if you want to see the races from their perspectives, check out the links in the descriptions below to those who uploaded the content onto YouTube. And of course a really big thank you from myself to ESL and Project Cars, inviting me to hop into the lobbies of this final, record the footage, and then allow me to create these 2 videos for you guys. Hopefully we should be able to collaborate with that some more in the future, but otherwise thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully I shall see you soon, but in the meantime, I've been Yorkie. Take care.